Welcome to another episode of What Else You Got with Mitch and Margo. Today we've got quite an episode for you, and Margo's going to kick it off for us.
I am ready to go. I've got a lot to talk about today. What have you got to
Okay,
talk
what else
about
you
today?
got?
Yeah, I got a lot. First of all, it's Memorial Day. So I think we should spend a minute talking about Memorial Day. What does Memorial Day mean to you, Mitch?
Memorial Day is a great day to remember all those that have served and who are serving that help us have what we have and the freedoms and opportunities we have.
Is that your first thought when you think about Memorial Day? Is that the first thing that comes to your mind when
Well,
somebody
there's
says, "What are
also
you
the
doing for Memorial's Day?"
absolutely nothing. That's my first thought.
Tons of people go camping on Memorial Day. Memorial Day is a lot of people also think it's the beginning of summer. So Memorial Day is supposed to be about honoring our military people and all the sacrifices they made for us and our country and all the benefits we get to enjoy because of their service. But is that what the first thought that comes to people's mind? I think people think about going to the parks, having picnics, barbecues, going camping, kicking off the beginning of summer.
Yeah, it's actually one of those interesting things that I've noticed that the purposes of either holidays or events shift over time. Because if you think of like Christmas, Easter, Fourth of July, Cinco de Mayo is actually a hilarious one, uh, where the intended purpose we've drifted away from to either commercialization or to whatever people want. Because like Cinco de Mayo, we call it a Mexican holiday, but in reality, it's a American drinking holiday.
Okay. So what is the 4th of July in other countries?
Um, the funny thing is, I worked with a couple people from London. They go, "It's a U.S. holiday," and then I go, "So you guys aren't upset that we walked away from you guys?" They go, "Yeah,
Yeah, I today people want to live their own lives today. And a lot of people think that the universe kind of revolves around them, but the fact of the matter is it's we are the center of our own universe, right? And
mm-hmm.
so whatever my friends and family are planning for today, that's probably what Memorial Day means to me. Now, I when I used to be actively on social media, I would always post a picture of my dad. He served in the Navy. He actually lied about his birth date so he could get into the Navy early. I was thinking about that this morning as I was walking around. Was it easier back then to lie about your birth date because Google and the internet weren't readily available? How did he actually lie about how old he was in order to get into the Navy?
Yeah." That's one of those really interesting things because, like me, I've had technology and everything's verifiable in every sense, and so it's really hard to fudge some things.
I thought about asking Google today and asking Google if Google knows how old my dad actually is because his birth certificate, he's got a copy of his birth certificate that actually has the falsified birth date on it. I'd like to ask him how did he do that, but I can't because he's dead. But so yeah, when I was on social media actively, I used to always post a picture of my dad in his Navy uniform on Memorial Day as my attempt to acknowledge that today is Memorial Day, and I appreciate all that our military servicemen and women have done for us that we often don't acknowledge. And then I
Yep.
also like to have a good barbecue and go camping.
Yeah. It's these celebratory holidays that the proper acknowledgments or proper observances are often overlooked, but it's also just one of those that, like you said, it's what people make of it. And considering most people's Memorial Day is family orientated, I don't have really a problem with that because it's still family and um, it ultimately comes down to just us trying to become more unified.
I also think we should ask Google, do you say orientated or oriented?
If you want to get into languages, there's a lot of really interesting uh, perspective on how words form and how words are said. because there's quite a few different ways people have evolved certain words. Because actually, one word that I wrote down as a very interesting word that I came across on Instagram: biblioclasm and biblioclast. Do you know
I've
what
heard
those ones are?
biblioclast. I can't remember what it means. I'm pulling up
So
Google.
you're pulling up Google on this one.
Yeah, but I'm asking Google my other question. Is it oriented? Oh, apparently I'm not the first person to ask this question. But of course now I can't read it. It's more accurate and commonly used to say oriented instead of orientated. While orientate is a word, it's more common in British English. See, now that's something I've discovered over the years is oftentimes we've Americanized words that have become our standard, and then people get confused because since we're a global because we're a
Whoops.
global existence now with the internet and everything, other words kind of leak into, like toward or towards. Toward is the US English version, towards is the British English version. So you were just speaking British when you said orientated.
Well, there's. It also comes down to whatever feels most natural is the correct way.
No.
Uh, well, some people's opinion is. Um, I I fit wherever it best fits. But one of the interesting things is also evolution of language over time. There's actually two ideas I have on that. One or two thoughts. Thoughts are better than ideas. Um,
Are they
the
what? But
first,
wait, what's the difference between a thought and an idea? Idea is more
um,
developed than a thought.
uh, possibly also idea is probably more actionable than a thought. A thought is
Okay, I
interesting,
like
and you
that.
move on.
Okay, I
Idea
like
is
that.
let's do something about it.
Okay, I like that. Okay, back to what you were saying.
Yeah. So evolution of languages. So you know how you see signs with ye old shop or something like that, or ye old tavern.
Oh, ye
So
old? Is that what you're saying? I thought you were saying
yes,
yield. I thought you were saying Yield. You're saying
what ye
Yeole.
ole. Oh yeah, yeah, ye old shop.
Gotcha. I'm with you now.
So one of the really interesting things that uh, I came across recently is uh, the ye, the y, is actually a drift from another Latin slash English character that we no longer have, or letter, I should say. And it used to be the th sound, and so it has drifted to where it's from this character that was the sound, and has shifted to look and resemble like a Y. And that's why when you see these signs that say ye old, it's actually the old.
Really?
It's one of those really interesting things I came across where it's just the evolution of language where that letter drifted more towards a Y and it came out of the English alphabet.
This is something I did not know. What were you going to say about biblioclast?
Oh, biblioclasm, biblioclasm. Um, I actually have another thought that forks with evolution, and then I'll circle back to biblioclasm.
Sure.
Um, so the other part is actually saw a extremely interesting Instagram reel the other day, where a professor was went to a high school to do a speech or presentation thing, and this professor was a language professor, and he wrote his entire speech in Gen Z or Gen Alpha, depending on how you want to classify that segment of language, that dialect. And it was one of those that he spoke it so clearly and well, which I don't speak very well, that you would assume that he was a native of Gen Z, Gen Alpha. And he, because he was a language professor, he actually understood the evolution of the words and their intended meaning. And so when we get words like bet, and I can't remember all these words, Chad, chat, and all these other things that to you and me, they mean completely different things than what Gen Z and Gen Alpha. It really comes down to, yes, the words aren't used correctly, but they are also used correctly based off of who's saying it. And so it really comes down to, yes, a word might not fit your dictionary of the English, but it fits someone else's dictionary, which kind of goes back to the American versus British English. You can also throw Australian English in there, where we all speak the same thing, but fish and chips mean different things depending on where you're at. And one thing as I was thinking through this, when it comes down to the evolution of languages, you think about Gen Z and Gen Alpha, how it's very prominently well known that they have their own dialect. If we go back to when I was a kid,
But dialect is different than like vernacular or
yes,
verbiage. Dialect is the way you say a word, right?
mostly yes.
Okay,
Um,
Google. Okay, all
all
right.
right. So dialect, what's the
Dialect,
definition?
according to Google, a particular form of language which is peculiar to a specific region or social group. I would say that maybe then you are correct. I thought dialect was the way a group said a certain word, like
That's more accent.
pronunciation.
That's more of the
Oh,
accent, because if you think of the Bronx accent, it's a Jewish, German, Italian mix of, and that's how you get more of your Bronx and New Jersey and New York accent, because of
I didn't know
people
that
just couldn't
either.
say certain sounds, and so they tweaked the sound to fit how they would say it, and because of the cultural influence, you get a dialect because they would bring in words from all these different cultures, and yeah, they basically
How
build
are
out
you
this
so
dialect
smart?
because I listen to people. That's why
So,
people should
so
listen to this
so
podcast.
if I want to sound like I'm hip with the young people, would I say, I don't want to diss you, but this sounds a little sus. But hey, we are fire.
You got some
How was
Riz going
that? Did
on.
I get it? Did I
Yeah,
get
you got some Riz, Chad. This is where in chat we're going to get chewed to pieces.
it?
uh,
Hey, got to do what I can do here.
yeah, which is where going back to dialects. If you go to like the southern U.S., there's a lot of French and a lot of I forgot the word. A lot of criminal, and that's a very interesting topic I'll get into here in a second, that's moved into the South. And so you get a lot of this French, a little bit of Spanish, and a lot of
Or
outcast and
did you
criminal.
say Creole? I thought you said criminal. Maybe I am old. I need to
No,
get my hearing checked. Did you say criminal
I,
or Creole?
criminal, because Creole comes after the South is created. Because Creole is Louisiana, Lower Alabama, and a little bit of I just spaced what others.
Well, I don't want to
Louisiana,
offend all of
Alabama.
our Southern listeners, but are you saying that Southerners are criminals?
All right, so we'll take the diversion over to definition of redneck. Okay, so no, this is one of those fun things. So redneck, there's a reason why you associate redneck with the South or hillbilly. Um,
Because their necks get burned because they work too hard outside all day long in the sun.
well, if we're going off that, what's the difference between a redhead and a redneck? It's where they got sunburnt. But so rednecks were actually a hodgepodge group of mercenaries that came from, I want to say, Scotland, and they couldn't afford real uniforms for their mercenary group, so they wore red bandanas around their necks, hence rednecks. And so they were hired out, I believe, during the Revolutionary War. This is where someone's going to fact check me and get that wrong. They were hired during the Revolutionary War. They fought, and then after the Revolutionary War, the colonies didn't want to have this rough band of rednecks run around, so they sent them to the South to colonize that area. And that's why rednecks are usually in the South. And so that's where you get rednecks from, is a mercenary group.
Wow. I just think that you are way too smart for me. Because according to Google, the term redneck is often thought to have originated from the sunburned necks of necks of Southern farmers. However, its origins are complex and debated, with some suggesting a connection to Scottish-Irish religious
Ooh.
rebellions in the 17th century. Additionally, there's a theory linking it to Union miners, just learned to read the other day, who wore, not the miners, me, who wore red bandanas during labor disputes.
Yeah. So that's where you get rednecks.
Huh. Who knew this was going to be such an educational podcast?
And so, going back to the dialects, so that's where all these different groups of people, usually outcasts, went to the South, and they start mixing how they say English, and that's where you get this really Southern drawl, because the various dialects had problems saying certain English words, and other people they just started blurring words together, and that's where you get yont to, used to, could, might, could, mayonnaise, and Jeff Foxworthy has a ton of other ones. But the funny thing is, they all originate because people had problems saying certain words, and that's where you start getting these new words that technically relate to their near-sounding cousins, but can take on a different meaning. One of my favorites, which every time I say it, people look at me, that's not a word. Runt.
Runt,
Runt.
runt.
Yeah, basically. So I'm not 100% sure how to spell it because it's not a normal word, but I would spell it RURNT.
Runt.
No, not runt. Runt.
Ruined?
Uh, yeah,
Ruined?
it's yeah, it comes from ruined, messed up, destroyed, uh, inadequate, and so runt because someone couldn't say ruined.
Now I think you're just making things up.
That's what people say, and then the funny thing is, we'll get comments saying runt is a word.
Runt.
Runt. It's very
Runt.
much a Southern word. I've heard it
Runt.
said multiple times.
Runt. Okay. Okay.
Runt.
Were you gonna talk about biblio class?
Yes. So, so the video that I saw, they basically defined biblioclasm is the destruction of books for basically a political or religious or personal motivation, where it's the destruction of books. Biblioclast is the person who destroys the book.
Ugh. Neither of which can be any good.
No, but I like big words, and big words are interesting. And granted,
Books are
though,
important. Whether you like the book or not, books are important.
yep. And it's definitely one of those that, as we, or I like to share big words, but I've learned that even though you know big words, using small words where a 5-year-old can understand you means you actually understand a topic better.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you keep using big words, do you keep using that word, but do you? It doesn't mean what you think it means.
Oh, now we're talking about the cult classic Princess Bride.
Yep,
Marriage.
mileage. There's
Marriage.
another.
Marriage.
So that's a mix between accent and dialect, because
Okay.
it's one of those that
Marriage.
if you go for what they're trying to say, it's an accent, but if you propagate the word mawage, it is a dialect, and everyone who has seen the movie knows the meaning of mawage, because
Marriage.
mawage means something different than marriage. Because if I say mawage, what do you think of?
Princess Bride.
You think
And
of Princess Bride.
and the actress who said it. Can't think of her name right now.
It was actually a guy that said it.
No,
It
it
was the
was
priest.
no.
It was the priest.
Oh, well then, what did the actress with the curly hair? Oh, what was her
She was
name?
she was the
I thought.
princess.
No, 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 no. Um,
Oh, are you talking the one that goes boo?
the one who tells the guy to have a good day at work. What is her name?
I don't know which
Why is it so
part.
hard to
It's been a
bring up
while
a
since I've
cast
seen it.
list? I'm trying to bring up a cast list.
IMDb.
Um, they're showing everybody except for her.
Huh.
What was her name? Carol Kane. Carol Kane is who I'm thinking of. And are you sure she's not the one who said marriage?
It's the priest.
She was
If
at,
you
she was
Google,
at least in that
Google,
scene.
yeah, if you look up Princess Bride marriage, it'll show the priest.
She's in the scene too, though.
Yeah, I just
I
didn't get
bet
to
you
see
she
that
says
movie again.
marriage.
Probably, but it's also just one of those that it goes back to if someone says marriage, you think back to that scene because it's very specific, and people who know marriage versus marriage, they
Yep,
understand that meaning of the
yep,
dialect.
yep, yep. Wow, you're so smart. I agree 100%. Marriage.
So, yeah, subtle differences between dialect, accent, and word definitions.
Yep. It's all a little sus. But hey, we are fire or fired, depending upon whether you're Gen X or a boomer, right? I'm not a boomer. I'm too young to be a boomer.
Do you fit into Gen X then?
Maybe.
Because I think you're on the edge of boomer.
I'm not a boomer.
Okay. Because I know
Yeah,
Dad
maybe. Did
fits
I
your
say Gen
definition.
X? I think when I was trying to sound like the young people, they're called what? Gen Z. What are they called?
So
Gen Z? Gen
Z and Alpha, and
Alpha.
Beta just is the new babies that are around.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't make the stuff. I just report it.
Oh, okay. Are we sure? All
I
right.
don't know.
Wow. Sure. Okay. What else you got?
Well, I don't know. That's it for this one. It's definitely been a pleasure talking about dialects, languages, and the meanings of things. Be sure to go over to skywardmedia.com to get more exclusive behind the scenes content, and be sure to like and subscribe. And we'll see you next time.